The 1980s was the decade John Deere refused to slow down. While competitors played it safe, Deere built tractors packed with technology, engineering, and ideas far beyond what farmers were ready for. Some changed the industry, some were misunderstood, and some were so advanced they didn't make sense until decades later. Get ready, because these are the 10 John Deere tractors from the 1980s that were truly ahead of their time. Number 1. John Deere 4850. The John Deere 4850, introduced in the mid-1980s, was the kind of tractor that made people stop and stare when it rolled into the yard. With its big 15-speed PowerShift transmission, high horsepower for the time, and optional MFWD mechanical front-wheel drive, it was designed for serious row crop work in tough conditions. What made the 4850 ahead of its time wasn't just raw power, it was how that power was delivered and controlled. The PowerShift transmission gave operators a huge advantage. Instead of clutching and grinding through a few basic gears, the driver could shift through a wide range of speeds on the go. That meant staying in the power curve, matching speed to load, and being more precise with fieldwork. Today, PowerShift and CVT transmissions are standard on big tractors, but in the 1980s, this level of sophistication was still new territory for many farms. The 4850 also benefited from John Deere's SoundGuard cab, which dramatically improved comfort and reduced noise. A quieter environment, better visibility, and more intuitive controls meant operators could work longer and stay sharper. At a time when many tractors still felt like repackaged 1970s machines, the 4850 felt like the future. It could handle large planters, heavy tillage tools, and big grain carts, and it did it with a mix of reliability and refinement that made it a long-term favorite. The fact that so many are still working today says everything about how far ahead of its time it really was. Number 2. John Deere 4450. If you ask many farmers which 1980s John Deere tractor was the perfect size, the 4450 will come up again and again. It hit a sweet spot, big enough to run serious equipment, but compact and nimble enough to stay versatile around the farm. With its combination of power, hydraulic capacity, and comfort, the 4450 became the standard by which many later tractors were judged. What made the 4450 ahead of its time was how completely it integrated technology, ergonomics, and durability. The SoundGuard cab further matured on this model, giving operators excellent visibility, smart control layout, and enough comfort that long hours became more manageable. It was one of those tractors where everything just felt right: the steering, the seat position, the way the controls felt to hand. In an era when many cabs still felt like an afterthought, the 4450 showed what a true operator environment could be. Mechanically, it was a workhorse. With ample horsepower and strong hydraulics, it could handle larger implements than many tractors in its class, and it did so with impressive fuel efficiency for the time. Optional MFWD turned it into a versatile all-rounder that could put power to the ground in muddy fields or tough soil conditions. On top of that, the 4450 gained a reputation for reliability that still follows it today. Many 4450s have logged thousands of hours and are still out there running hard. That kind of longevity, combined with features that still feel modern, is exactly why this tractor was so far ahead of its time. Number 3. John Deere 2950. The John Deere 2950 represented a different kind of advanced for its era. It wasn't the biggest or the most powerful tractor in the lineup, but it brought big tractor thinking into the mid-range utility segment. For mixed farms, livestock operations, and smaller fields, the 2950 delivered a blend of power, comfort, and capability that was surprisingly forward-looking. One of its strongest points was the hydraulic system. The 2950 provided strong, responsive hydraulics and a capable 3-point hitch, allowing it to run loaders, mowers, balers, and many other implements with ease. This was more than just a basic farm tractor. It was a multi-tool designed for year-round work. Whether loading bales, scraping yards, or running hay equipment, the 2950 could handle it, often replacing multiple older tractors on the same farm. The cab versions of the 2950 brought comfort and safety to farmers who were used to open-station tractors on utility machines. Enclosed operation, better visibility, and more intuitive controls meant operators weren't stepping back in time when they climbed into a smaller tractor. In many ways, the 2950 blurred the line between utility tractor and row crop machine. What made it ahead of its time was this combination of versatility and refinement. Today, we expect even mid-range tractors to have strong hydraulics, comfortable cabs, and good road manners. Back in the 1980s, the 2950 was one of the tractors teaching farmers to expect exactly that, and many of these machines are still earning their keep on dairy farms and cattle operations around the world. Number 4. John Deere 2550. The John Deere 2550 is another example of how the 1980s changed expectations, especially for smaller tractors. At first glance, it looked like a straightforward, compact utility tractor, but under that green sheet metal, the 2550 packed a surprising amount of modern thinking, making it far more capable than its size suggested. For starters, it delivered a very usable combination of horsepower and torque for light tillage, hay work, loader tasks, and general chores. But its real strength was how user-friendly it was. The controls were laid out in a way that made sense, the steering was responsive, and the platform felt more refined than previous generations of similar-sized tractors. Farmers who spent all day feeding livestock or handling yard work quickly noticed that it was less tiring to run. Hydraulics and three-point capabilities gave the 2550 the muscle to run advanced implements for the era. It wasn't limited to simple tasks. It could power modern loaders, mower conditioners, and other equipment that demanded steady hydraulic flow. Safety and comfort also moved forward, with better operator protection and more attention to visibility and ergonomics. The 2550 was ahead of its time because it helped redefine what a small tractor could be. Instead of being just an auxiliary machine, it became the central workhorse on many livestock and mixed farms. In today's market, compact and utility tractors are often packed with features and expected to do a huge variety of jobs. The 2550 was one of the early examples of this philosophy in action. Number 5. John Deere 4650. When it came to high-horsepower row crop tractors, the John Deere 4650 was a beast that also knew how to behave itself. Released as part of the 50 series lineup, it was built to pull heavy implements, cover serious acres, and still give the operator a controlled, comfortable experience. In the 1980s, not many tractors in this power class managed that combination as well as the 4650. With plenty of horsepower on tap and the option of the PowerShift transmission, the 4650 allowed operators to fine-tune speed to match load and condition. This was critical for heavy field work like deep tillage, large planters, and big grain drills. Being able to shift under load without losing momentum meant better productivity and more consistent field results. Power management and drivability like this were ahead of what many competitors were offering at the time. The tractor's MFWD capability also made a big difference in traction and stability. In softer soils or hills, the 4650 could keep power to the ground far more efficiently than older 2WD machines of similar horsepower. Add in the SoundGuard cab, and you had a tractor that didn't just work like a modern machine, it felt like one inside as well. In many ways, the 4650 anticipated the expectations farmers later had for big row crop tractors. Strong engines, sophisticated transmissions, high hydraulic capacity, and an operator environment that supported long working days. That combination is exactly what makes it stand out as a tractor that was ahead of its time. Number 6. John Deere 4250. The John Deere 4250 sat in a sweet spot in the lineup, offering a very attractive balance between power, size, and sophistication. For many mid to large-scale farms, this tractor became a do-almost-everything machine, and that versatility came from features that were surprisingly advanced for the mid-1980s. The 4250 could be equipped with either a quad-range or PowerShift transmission, giving farmers a choice between robust, familiar gearing and more refined on-the-go shifting. That alone made it flexible for different operations and driver preferences. The engine delivered reliable, efficient power that worked well with a wide range of implements: planters, drills, light to medium tillage tools, mower conditioners, and more. Hydraulically, it was built to support more advanced equipment than previous generations. The 4250 was ready for modern implements with higher flow requirements, and its three-point hitch performance made it capable in both draft work and mounted tools. Combine that with MFWD availability, and you had a tractor that could shift roles throughout the year without ever feeling undersized. The sound guard cab again played a big role in pushing this tractor ahead of its time. Noise levels, visibility, and overall ergonomics allowed the operator to spend long days in the field without the fatigue that older machines caused. The 4250 proved that high productivity farming didn't need to mean suffering through noisy, uncomfortable conditions. In today's world, that seems obvious. But in the 1980s, tractors like the 4250 were the ones teaching that lesson. Number 7. John Deere 8850. If there was one John Deere tractor from the 1980s that truly embodied the phrase ahead of its time in sheer scale and ambition, it was the 8850. This articulated, four-wheel drive monster was built for big acres, heavy tools, and farmers who wanted to move serious dirt and destroy serious acres of tough ground. With its massive V8 diesel engine, the 8850 was one of the most powerful tractors John Deere had ever produced up to that point. The idea behind the 8850 was to deliver horsepower levels that could handle the very largest implements of the day. Huge chisel plows, wide field cultivators, and massive air seeders. The articulated frame and 4WD layout were designed to put that power to the ground in difficult soil conditions. For its time, this was cutting-edge thinking, a tractor that didn't just pull a big implement, but was built as part of a whole high-horsepower farming system. It's true that the 8850 also gained a reputation for being complex and, in some cases, expensive to maintain. But that, in a way, is also part of why it was ahead of its time. It pushed design, power, and engineering into territory that many farms and service networks weren't quite ready for yet. Modern high-horsepower articulated tractors with huge engines and advanced drivetrains follow the same concept the 8850 was already exploring in the 1980s. Despite its challenges, the 8850 proved that John Deere was willing to take risks and innovate at the very top of the power range. It helped shape expectations for what a large 4WD tractor could be, even if the rest of the world had to catch up to it. Number 8. John Deere 4255. As the 1980s moved toward their close, John Deere introduced the 55 series tractors, and the 4255 was one of the standouts. It built on the strengths of the 4250 but refined them further, bringing better performance, updated styling, and improved features that made it feel very close to a 1990s tractor while still being an 80s machine. The 4255 offered improved power and updated engine tuning, giving it excellent pulling ability and responsiveness. Combined with John Deere's proven transmissions, including the PowerShift option, it delivered smooth, consistent performance in the field and on the road. This was a tractor that felt confident and composed, whether running a planter at precise speeds or pulling tillage tools through heavy soil. Hydraulics and three-point performance on the 4255 were more than capable of handling the increasing demands of late 1980s implements. As equipment grew wider and more sophisticated, farms needed tractors that could keep up, not just in engine power but in hydraulic support. The 4255 fit that role perfectly, and its MFWD options made it even more adaptable. Comfort and ergonomics were also improved, with the familiar sound guard cab further dialed in. For many operators, this tractor represented a new normal: quiet, powerful, easy to drive, and ready for long days without beating the driver up. In that sense, the 4255 didn't just feel ahead of its time, it felt like a preview of the 1990s machines that would follow. Number 9. John Deere 4455. If there's one tractor from the 1980s that many farmers would happily buy again even today, it's the John Deere 4455. Often considered one of the best tractors John Deere ever built, the 4455 was introduced at the tail end of the decade but quickly proved it was no short-term update. It combined power, reliability, comfort, and versatility at a level that felt almost futuristic compared to earlier machines. Under the hood, the 4455 delivered strong horsepower and excellent torque, making it a perfect match for heavy field work, larger planters, and demanding PTO applications. The availability of PowerShift made it incredibly user-friendly, allowing operators to shift seamlessly under load and maintain ideal working speeds. It was a tractor that made precision and productivity feel easy, even by modern standards. The MFWD versions of the 4455 turned it into a traction powerhouse, especially valuable in wet springs and tough soil. The hydraulic system and three-point hitch were more than capable of handling the most modern implements of the time. Farmers who needed one tractor to do almost everything, planting, tillage, baling, hauling, often found the 4455 to be the perfect candidate. Inside the sound guard cab, the 4455 delivered low noise levels, comfortable seating, and control placement that still feels logical today. Many operators say that after a few minutes the tractor disappears and just becomes an extension of the driver. That's the kind of design that does not age quickly. The reason the 4455 is so clearly ahead of its time is simple. When you put one to work today, it still doesn't feel outdated. Yes, it lacks electronics, GPS, and screens, but in terms of core tractor qualities, power, drivability, comfort, and reliability, it still competes remarkably well. Number 10. John Deere 4955. The John Deere 4955 closed out the decade with a statement. High-horsepower tractors could be powerful, comfortable, and sophisticated all at once. Introduced in the late 1980s, this was one of the strongest row crop tractors John Deere had ever built, and it was clearly aimed at large-scale operations that were pushing for maximum productivity. With its high horsepower rating, the 4955 was designed to handle big implements, wide planters, big grain drills, and heavy tillage tools. It delivered the muscle needed for high-acreage farms that wanted to cover ground fast. But more importantly, it did so with a level of refinement that set the stage for the 1990s and beyond. The PowerShift transmission, MFWD capability, and powerful hydraulics worked together to create a tractor that felt well-balanced and easy to control despite its size. The cab on the 4955 continued the evolution of operator comfort. Long days in the field were made less exhausting by good visibility, low noise, and thoughtful control layout. This wasn't just a brute of a tractor. It was a serious workplace designed around the human being sitting in the seat. That human-centered design is now standard in modern tractors, but the 4955 was one of the machines leading that charge. Even today, the 4955 is highly respected on farms that keep older equipment in operation. Its combination of power, durability, and modern enough features allows it to keep up with many jobs that farmers might otherwise assign to newer tractors. That staying power is a clear sign that when it rolled out in the 1980s, it was already living a bit in the future. These John Deere machines prove that innovation isn't always instantly understood. But their ideas, power, efficiency, comfort, technology shape the future of farming. If you enjoyed this trip back to Deere's boldest decade, hit like, subscribe, and tell me which tractor surprised you the most. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned because the next video explores even more machines that were built years before the world was ready.